So this section, we're going to actually go into the digital content that we've created and aligned to our various lesson maps, guides, and cards to allow you to see how we've decided to deliver and help train our teachers. This took over 5 or 6 years to build. There's probably a dozen teachers that have been in here helping to create this that are subject experts in all their areas. They're all classical ed focused, so that's the model that we're using. Let's recap a little bit of what we covered last time and the role of how we built and delivered our content. Everything that we've created was built in our schools, so it all lines up and connects. So science and history and art and math and all the different subjects all interconnect. We built the program so that you can actually connect them all together and use them as a complete set. Or you can just say, I like your science, or I like your history, or I like your English, and I'm going to use something else to do my other content. So it's your choice how you want to proceed. Again, 40,000-foot view. This is the curriculum map. Tells us the grade, the months of the year, 10 months of the year in each subject: English, history, science, art, and values and virtues. That's many schools in the country, about 50% of them or so, use something like this. And then the teachers go out and find content and find ways to teach it. They pick their novels and they pick the times in history, or they use a textbook that's provided for them. What we've done is taken that and then made lesson cards, curriculum cards for each of these boxes. And they're color coded and date coded, and they all connect. Finally, there's guides, which are workbooks. There's about 35 or 40 of these, and they tell you how to streamline and go deeper into your card content. And then the last step is a digital delivery mechanism, which we're going to show you next in this actually live and get into some of the digital content. One more recap. If you've chosen classical education, it's like going to a Chinese restaurant, where Mexican food could be another type of education. Maybe it's Montessori or STEM-based learning or project-based learning or STEM. We deliver the content to you off the menu. So you can say, I'll have a number one, and we're just going to give you each day, each week, each month what to cover. Or you can jump over to the resources that we provided for you, the buffet, and tailor your order to your child's interest and what they like. Lesson cards, everything is based on history in our world. So we spend a lot of time laying these out. And we're going to talk about that in a minute here in our digital content. Most important area is the 100 events. And then we get into all the various aspects of the card. So let's go into history first. And we recapped this before, but we do a 4-week cycle on a time frame in history on a card. It tells you which month we're going to cover that. And then what time period and what is covered. And we're going to introduce the topic. We're going to do the 100 events. And we're now going to jump into all the various resources you have to help teach that unit. So let's jump over to the content. So now I am inside of curriculum. I'm inside of the digital content, and we're going to do history. So I'm going to go to my courses. I'm in Schoology, Power School, and I'm going to go to history. And you'll see here, we have some introductions. We have some tools and resources to help the teacher teach. And then we break into the 10 units of instruction. And those 10 units, again, line up to the 10 here by date. So let's take a look at Unit 1, the Fall of Rome. You'll see there's 2 ways we deliver that content. Again, a la carte, off the menu. It's the way we're going to teach it, week 1, 2, 3, 4, or the buffet. So when you look at the week 1 through 4 format, it lines up to what we just covered. You'll find as you jump into our digital content, usually we do a little video introduction to explain what's coming. Explain how we deliver content and teach our history. History is extremely important. So those are peppered throughout to remind you and to help you understand what is inside of all this digital content. There's the card we're going to be working on. There's the month we're studying it and the grades we're studying it. Here's those 100 events, which are super important. We want to make sure they get covered over and over again, because the kids are going to see this time and this card 3 times in the K-12 environment. There's the great men and women of history, inventions, the sprite, society, politics, religion, intellect, technology, and economics. And then finally, the value and virtue. Then we're going to get into the actual instruction. So week one, we're going to introduce you to the top 100 events and why they're important. On this moment or this card or this time frame, number 23, 64, and 92 out of the top 100 appear. Then we start explaining what those are. Little videos explaining it. Maybe your child is more a visual learner. Then there'll be some worksheets and some efforts and ways to make that come alive. Then we explain the card. Depending on the age of your child and the interest level. What was this event? Why did it happen? The basic questions, all the way up to how is this event considered significant today? Find news sources to back up the event. So resources and ways to make that come alive for your child. And then we introduce the key terms that appeared under that month. And those could be something that they spell, they look up, you pick 5 or 6 or 10, your choice of how you want to make that go. And then we try to bring it into an own discussion. Why is this event important? What's the big use of this and what is important to you on this event? So that's week one. Then it goes through week two. We're going to introduce the great men and women. We're going to connect other parts of the curriculum, inventions, geography, and then we're going to have some kind of a assignment or final project. That's us delivering the content to your child or to you or to for our schools. The second way we deliver content is through, this is the buffet. So in here, in the orange folders, the Sprite model, we include all kinds of extra resources for you to move over to your week-by-week instruction, to blend with, or to create your own set of tools to teach a topic. So like we're going to look at the Sprite model: society, politics, religion, intellectualism, technology, and economics. So say your child wants to know, they're super interested in what it was like to live in the 400 to 500 AD level. Inside here, we have all kinds of tools and resources that you can pull in to show what it was like to live in the Middle Ages. PowerPoints to lecture to. These can be downloaded, customized, videos, links off to reading assignments. All ways for you to make that society discussion come alive. You want to do the politics and so on and so on and so on. We've tried our best to populate these with tools and resources that our teachers in the classroom aren't having to struggle and say, what am I going to do today? One thing I will note here that's super beneficial is at the bottom of every Sprite folder, you'll see worksheets. And these are just generic open source worksheets for you to take your topic and build a unit around. So the number of points determines how many classroom, how much time it takes. So let's jump into a 90-minute to complete worksheet. This is going to be a history board. So you would say Fall of Rome. For each person event, do a storyboard of 5 most important parts. Here's what it looks like. This is just a tool or a template for you to have your child explore, make a movie poster, do a picture book, on and on and on. Tells you how many minutes and what it's involved. So those are important. Jumping back into, we have geography during medieval times. So these are maps, ways to teach geography, websites you can use, units, full units of instruction that can layer into each month, each week, each day, depending where your child's at. And then lesson plans that are from other teachers or other folks that will actually help you teach these various things through another person's eyes. There's so much creativity that goes into teaching that this really helps to give you ideas. Close reading, information, text, source docs. In the older grades, we try to bring in source documents that the children are analyzing instead of taking someone else's word for what happened and how it happened. They're actually going through the content, the direct content. And then finally, we have some textbooks built out. So these all live for you inside of our digital content. And again, you have 2 choices. You can walk through our week-by-week plan, and we're going to teach it with you and for you and alongside you, or you can supplement that work with the Sprite folders full of content that makes it happen. So that's kind of how we teach our history. Let's move on to English next. Now let's look at English instruction. In our model, again, you can teach them all connected. So history and English and art and science all matches, or you can have English completely on its own. And you'll see there's English is broken into three different big areas. You got the younger grades where they're emergent readers. You got the middle grades where kids are really starting to read and comprehend. And then you got the upper grades where we're really starting to come up with ideas and come up with their own thoughts and interpretations of world literature. Uh, so back to the lesson maps, 1 or 2 unit. We talk about the poems you're going to be read and the novel reading and how it ties into history. So it's thematic. Then there's the cards. So you're going to have a corresponding card, which covers vocabulary, theme, plot, character, artist intent, what's happening. So you could just teach off of this and need nothing else from us. They align to books. Now, these are the classic starts for the younger grades, but you can actually get the full novel from William Dafoe for the older grades, depending on their reading level and their ability. And then we also recap that we have built out guides. So you don't need the digital if you want to just use the guide. This just helps you refine your instruction and get deeper and more specific into what you're going to be covering. So we're going to now break into the digital content, and we're going to kind of share this model and go through this model. And what we talk about is a 5-day week and what happens each of those days, both from an English point of view and the classical point of view. We're going to go into yellow again. We're going to look at some of these, which is your training courses. So if you don't know how to pull off a value and virtue discussion, there's some actual prompts and some professional development that we've done to our teachers that you can utilize. What narration looks like, read alouds look like in a classroom. And then we have the actual content. Again, we're going to try to connect history and English to it, and then grammar worksheets. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And finally, this is a good look of what we're going to take a peek at in our digital content and what all these little boxes mean. And here's a look at it from a novel point of view. So let's shift over to our digital content. And let's take a look at, let's start with English skills. So what we've done here, this is your grammar skills that we want our children to know and our students to know by certain targets and ages in their instructional time frame with us. So if we're in third grade, these are the grammar skill usage worksheets and areas that they should understand. Ideally, you want to tie these into the novel they're reading, so it makes much more sense and comprehension. But these are standalone. Let's take a look at character action worksheets. This can be printed out and be part of your daily instruction. We're suggesting in our campuses we do 2 45-minute sections for about an hour and a half of English. So this could be part of their grammar section. Read a brief story, answer questions based on it. So these are just to be integrated into your work. Let's take a look at bookworms, which is our actual instructional model. Oh, that's biology. Novels, early reading. Here we go. Okay, 5. Organized and broken down into the background, like what all these mean, why bookworms is important, why we use it. I think we talked about the last segment, the teacher-based emergent reading cards that explain what a word walk is and how to do a nursery rhyme and what your schedule should look like, how to do poetry. So these kind of give you the background and the setup as to why. What we like about bookworms a lot is it's got heavy phonetic reading. It helps dissect the reading material very carefully. Shared reading, which is very Charlotte Mason based, is a very important part of it. Takes in the latest science of reading. And now this is just talking you through and walking you through each of the steps. So if we're going to do a shared reading lesson, there are recommended books that Bookworms recommends. We have them in our classrooms and they're part of our instructional model. What you'll find with Bookworms is you can take any book and dissect it and work through this model on its own. So you can go to the library, you can use what we recommend. You can pick some of your classic starts, your classic Magic Treehouse, whatnot. And it's just a process of how to teach a book. So realize that as you're getting into Bookworms. It talks about how to do written response, how to do your writing, how to do your word study. These are your vocabularies. What interactive read aloud looks like. And these are the different books that we're actually reading. Harvest and Hope. So you would get the book on Harvest and Hope. It tells you the level, the grade, and it just walks through a series of questions that allows you to ask back and forth as you would decipher that book. As we get into the higher grades, it'll be much more specific into plot, theme, character, and whatnot. I want to share with you a couple things on the yellow courses. Now, yellow courses are professional development training courses. These are designed for our teachers and by our teachers to explain why we do and how we teach the way we do. So, what is the purpose of a read aloud? There's a series of research articles, videos that explain what a read aloud looks like. How does reading comprehension work? Vocabulary, some suggestions and ideas. The Freire model is a big part of what we do in most of our grades. So what's that? What is the Freire model? What's a template to teach the Freire model? Introduce the word, define the word, Freire model, create sentences. Recitations are big in the classical model. What's that look like? Why do we do them? What are the poems that we should be picking for the particular months and each? What's close reading look like? Copybook creation. So you'll find in these yellow folders just tons of resources that if you're trying to figure out why do we do this and or how do I do it better, or how do I program this into my day, there's tools here at your fingertips to dig into deeper. What I would suggest is there's so much content and there's so much coming at you that you just get into the novel studies and get into the rhythm and understand the pattern over the first month or two or a few weeks. And then as you get more comfortable and confident, because remember, you're in many cases in a homeschool environment, you're teaching, 3 different subjects and possibly 2 or 3 kids, and you're got a lot going on. Refine your skills as you get more comfortable with how we've laid things out. Really spend your first few months just understanding how everything lays out and how you can tie it together to make it work for yourself. So you'll notice we have PDs for classical ed, Charlotte Mason, like basically why our system is working and what that looks like. Copybook, a big part of what we do in our campuses. English, history, how to do narration, recitation, what science look like, values and virtues, finally. So that's just a general PD of the different parts. Next, we're going to jump into values and virtues, art, and science, so that you can kind of get a sense of how those additional courses are added into our content. Okay, now we're going to look at our sciences, our arts, and values and virtue instruction, just so you get a sense of how that looks digitally and how we deliver that content. So as a refresher, you remember we cover 4 different time periods of science and the 4 different topics. We also do 50 artists and 25 musicians and 20 values and virtues, and it's how they all line together. Again, these are designed to be standalone or integrate seamlessly into a full program that we run in our campuses. It starts with the lesson cards. Again, we build courses based on the content that you find on the outside of these lesson cards, which are the outlines. And same with our art and music. We have digital content based on the cards and lessons that are covered. So let's break into the digital content now and show you what that looks like. All right. So let's take a look at the science first. And we're in biology. And we deliver the content in biology. Oh, I'm in second. Sorry, we're in earth sciences. So every year we cover every grade an introduction to the scientific method, hypothesis, the role of data, the safety, the basics of science. So if you've done this once, you don't have to go through it again, but it's important that you do a refresher possibly every grade level. But we assume in our campuses that we may have kids that have never been exposed to any of the first part. So we call it the welcome to science, which goes into the big components. In this model, we're going to do earth sciences, so planet Earth, oceans and biomes, rivers, earthquakes, and volcanoes. That's your first month of instruction, month 2, month 3, month 4. So let's take a look at planet Earth. So we're going to cover the big areas that are identified on the lesson card, which are plate tectonics, continents, and then inside of here, there'll be more content and videos and pieces that make it work.